Hi folks, here's another short video about fan noise and SPL. I'm not going to lie, the more I venture into this side of things, the more I lose the will to live, but I feel the need to be thorough, and there are definitely some things worth saying on this matter, including things I've already said and would like to reiterate. First, measuring fan noise at low speed is an absolute nightmare because the actual sound level is so low that even distant traffic or wind can interfere with the reading. I've set a relatively small test distance of 40 centimeters, and often the measured sound level will fall below 32 decibels, so it quickly becomes a fruitless endeavour. This is why I've always maintained that a slow fan is a quiet fan, regardless of brand or model. The numbers are largely arbitrary. Secondly, in my previous video about the A12X25 being basically an overhyped and overpriced fan, I showed that it had to go flat out at over 2000 RPM to compete with the Phanteks T30's thermal performance at 1600 RPM. And it was brought to my attention that such a comparison is meaningless without including sound data. So, purely for the sake of putting a swift end to the debate, here is the data. The T30 reaches a low of 36.3 decibels, whilst the A12X25's lowest recorded value is 38.7 decibels. Now, the actual measured level itself is arbitrary, as I said before, but the comparison is valid. The A12X25 clearly loses to the T30. But it's not just the T30. There is another quiet contender nipping at the heels of the Noctua, which surprised me somewhat, and that is the Lian Li P28. It's only mere fractions of a decibel louder when the fans are at the same speed, yet it maintains a healthy lead over the Noctua in all of the thermal tests, particularly at lower speeds. So, in reality, both the T30 and the P28 are the better fans, but as I said in the video title, the comparison is mostly futile, and here's why. Generally, people just don't care about the actual measured sound level of a fan. That's why one of the first things we do when we set up a new system or install a new cooler is go into BIOS and adjust the fan curves. No spreadsheet or graph can give you the in-person experience of the noise a fan makes, especially when installed on a heatsink or in a case. If a fan is too loud, it gets turned down. It's that simple. This is the bottom line for most people, in my experience. Even when lowering fan noise is done at the expense of higher temps, it's a worthwhile trade. And that's why people, myself included, will continue to choose fans like the A12X25 over objectively superior fans. Any fan will do the job just fine, and I suppose in some senses it's nice not simply limiting yourself to the best performing fans. Anyway, moving swiftly on, I've been asked on a few occasions to test a radiator setup, so I have obtained this, which is Corsair H80i, and it's the version 2, so it's got a much thicker radiator than previous versions. It'll be really interesting to see how the fans perform on this particular setup, and whether or not there will be further changes to the rankings. So stay tuned for that, and I'll see you in the next one.